Yo, 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 welcome everybody to Two Tails. I'm your host, Gavin Miles, and this show breaks down hunting and fly fishing from a boots on the ground and a flies on the water perspective. My goal is simple: keep it entertaining, practical, and help you elevate your skills to make every outing count. Well, as you can tell, I've got my camo on, so that means we're going to be talking about hunting today, okay? The theme for episode 1 of this new podcast is, drumroll please, Gone with the Wind. And we're not talking the movie Gone with the Wind. We're talking application-based hunting approaches and applying the theme of Gone with the Wind, okay? So my thought in this is by doing or by telling a story and talking about some takeaways, some talking points, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, and trying to apply that for future reference when we're out. And I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope it can be educational. Here we go. So this first story, I'm going to tell the story of an elk, of a bull elk that we've nicknamed the camera clearing bull, okay? So I got lucky enough this past summer to draw out for a limited entry hunt here in Utah, and it was a bow hunt. So it was a summer hunt, summer to early fall hunt, right? And I had placed out some cameras during some scouting efforts throughout the summer to try to figure out my priority list of I want to start here and go there and maybe hit this place if I need to. So the story of the camera clearing bull comes from a clearing that I put in an area that we call the hole, right? Super steep, super deep in there. And to kind of set the stage, me and my brother were about halfway through the hunt, right? We woke up super early in the pitch black. There wasn't much of a moon, and we're hiking in the dark so that we can get to the clearing we wanted to be at first light. Right, that first gray light to where you can start to see objects and make out shapes. Maybe not shooting light necessarily, but light enough to where you can see without headlamps, without additional light. So here we are. We hike about 1.5 miles in. We're sitting in the clearing where I had previously put my trail camera, right? And we had seen good bulls. We had seen bachelor groups. We had seen big bears. And we had seen a couple of really nice bulls, right? 6 points, 370 bulls, and we were pretty stoked about this area. So we were trying to decide if we wanted to start there or in a different clearing, a couple, 100 yards down the game trail that we hiked in on. So we decided to rip a bugle off. Right, we're standing in this clearing. We're like, where do we go? Do we stay here? Do we go? Should I stay or should I go? Right? Just kidding. But my brother rips off a bugle. Here we are in this clearing on the trail. Bugle goes off. We're waiting maybe 10, 15 seconds, maybe. Sure enough, there he is. Big bull off in the distance, the near distance, but off in the distance nonetheless. And we wanted to go after him. So right as we got to this camera clearing, it was that gray light that I'm talking about. We turn our headlamps off. We start heading towards him to where the bull had responded back to us, looking for some action, right? So we're going over there pretty quickly. We're making a move on him. And we get to the clearing we think he's in. We don't see him. We don't see his cows. So we quickly make a setup to where my brother was going to stay back a little bit. I was going to be in the middle, in between him and the bull, hoping the bull is coming on this game trail to play the call, right? To run off the bull, to get the cows to run, practically, right? It's September at this point in the hunt. So there I am in this clearing, on the edge of the clearing. I'm knelt down behind some quakies, some baby quakies, and just waiting. This bull, my brother, back and forth, chuckling, grunting, glunking, and whoo-wee, it was a party, you guys. It was what you live for when you're bow hunting out in the woods. Super cool experience, right? Well, that bull is coming closer. He's being lured in by the calls. He's intrigued. He's interested, and he's wanting some action, right? So the theme of this podcast is Gone with the Wind. We have set up the wind perfectly, or so we thought, to where we're downwind of this bull and he has to come into us. And we're hoping he's going to play the call so that as he's coming in, I'm in between, I'm closer, I've got the shot once he comes into the clearing, right? Well, we thought it was a great play. However, the bull elk did not think it was a great play. He didn't read the script, right? Aren't they supposed to read the script when you're out in the woods? So I've made my way to the edge of this clearing where I think he's going to come into, and sure enough, I did see him. I was actually 38 yards away from him, and he was a nice 6-point. He was actually a bull that we nicknamed Totga, an acronym for the one that got away, right? Totga. And he was a heartbreaker for me in this hunt. I had multiple close encounters with him to no avail. But he was right there, 38 yards, screaming his head off, deafening my ears. Hard to hear after ringing when he's done bugling. But there he is. He's coming down 38 yards. He's staying on the other side of this little finger clearing, working his way to my brother, where the call is coming from. Now you got to remember, my thermal or my wind is kind of in my face, right to left. Okay, so I'm downhill or downwind of where this bull is coming in, and it's perfect if he were to be on the game trail. He's not, though. And he's working his way downhill, playing the wind. Funny enough, he goes. Just as he's trying to get downwind, I try to make a play back around to get in front and below him so he's not winding me or my brother. Funny enough, I get back into this clearing behind me, and I'm down in the point. It's kind of like a heart shape, right? We love to be out in the mountains, a heart shape. And I get kind of down to the point of this heart where I think he's going to be. And he had made his way down to, sure enough, that spot, but he was still downwind of me. So once he got downwind of me, caught my scent, he barked, he busted, he wheeled out, and he was gone. Right, so that's why this episode is called Gone with the Wind. Unfortunately, Totga, this bull elk, this nice 6-point, got the best of me, and didn't see him the rest of that day. And lately, or a little later on, I should say, we got into 14 yards of him, but that's a story for another day. So stay tuned, because that will be one of the podcast episodes, right? Talking about story takeaways, we got to talk about the good and we got to talk about the bad. The good things, I would say, is shooter position. It's critical. It's essential. You have to have the shooter in between the caller and the bull in a calling situation, in a setup. That's what we did. I was in between. I had the vision, I had the visual, I had the shot. If it weren't blocked by trees and quakies and pine trees, it's just a game of inches and also a game of luck. If you don't think it's a game of luck, you're crazy. I would agree, though, that there is a certain skill set that has to go into it to put yourself in these positions. But the other part of it is the animal working with the hunter, right? Anyway, so the first good thing, shooter position. I was in between. I had the chance. I had the visual. Just didn't quite have the shot. Second good thing that we did was anticipate. As a hunter, you've always got to anticipate. Okay, there's a saying in the Hunger Games, if you're a Hunger Games fan, it's called moves and counter moves. You've always got to be anticipating those moves with your own counter moves, right? The elk is going to move. You've got to counter move. It's like a chess game. You got to be trying to think ahead of where that elk is going to go, where that deer is going to go, where that game animal is headed, right? If you can anticipate to the best of your ability, you will put yourself in better positions, better situations, and more often than not, filling that tag and punching that tag. So that's number 2 of the good. Position, anticipate, and the third is staying in the tree line or staying in cover, okay? Not only are these animals using their nose, trusting their nose with the wind, but they're also listening and they're also looking, okay? These animals don't need glasses like me. They've got super keen eyesight, and they can pick you off better than you can pick them off. Let's just put it that way, right? So if you can stay in the cover like they like to, you will be hidden, you will stay concealed, and they will come to you instead of being spooked by your sight, by you as the hunter yourself, right? And if in this situation I could have stayed in the tree line longer and snuck my way through, maybe I could have had the shot, right? 2020 hindsight hindsight is always 2020. Moving on to the bad. Collar position, right? What we should have done looking back is had my brother, the caller, move upwind of the shooter, if that makes sense. So let's paint the picture. You at the camera, you're the elk coming towards me, the shooter. Instead of having my brother behind me, I should have sent my brother upwind so that the bull is moving in, playing the wind of the call, because he can hear that call and the locator of the bugle. So if the bull's coming to me, playing the wind of him, he doesn't know I'm there. I'm hidden, right? I'm concealed in that tree line, and I'm anticipating that bull's next steps. So what we should have done, moved the collar uphill, let the bull play the wind there, and then he's in between the shooter, the caller, unbeknownst to him, arrow through the heart, right? The second bad thing I will say, learning from this situation as the hunter, they will play the wind and not the call. So that's why the caller position is just as important as the shooter position. That bull was so smart, and they are big for a reason. They don't get big just by being lucky all the time, right? They have been in the mountains. They're evading predators all the time, every single day. And they're going to play the wind, especially in a situation like this when they're trying to check out what is calling to them, and on the move through the trees, vision is limited. They gotta play with their nose, right? So this bull, like I mentioned, came down, skirted the clearing, stayed in the tree line, played the wind, not the call. He didn't come straight to the call. He went around the call, below the call, smelt, and ran away, right? So playing into that, there is a guide, an outfitter, a pro hunter, if you will. Look up to him a lot. Great guy. He also has a podcast called Live Wild with Remy Warren. If you know Remy Warren, he has a saying that goes, the nose knows. Like, the nose knows, right? You can't fool an elk's nose. If it doesn't smell like an elk, they're gone, right? If it doesn't smell like themselves, they're not going to trust it. And they're not going to hang around. Like in the movie Gone with the Wind, actually. The main star, her name is Scarlett. She has these lovers, and Scarlett says they ain't thinking about it tomorrow, right? Apply that to elk. The elk aren't going to think about that smell tomorrow. They're thinking about it right now, right then and there. If they smell something out of the blue in the woods, they're busting. They're out of there. Then another talking point, right? Maybe more of the educational side of things instead of the story. Thermals and directional winds are two different things in the mountains. Thermals are the change in temperature of the air in a landscape, right? In the mountains, in a valley, in a bowl, in a basin. Directional wind is a change in pressure in the atmosphere, okay? It's a little bit larger scale. So in this example, we were dealing with thermals rather than directional winds. So typically you're going to have two switches with thermals. In the morning, you're going to have a downhill thermal. The air is cool, hence it's going downhill, right? Cold air sinks, so it's going to go from the top of the mountain. As it gets cooled down, it's going to go to the bottom of the mountain. Cold air sinks, just remember that. Then about middle of the morning, midday, you're going to have the first switch. Once the sun comes up, crests the mountain tops, the ridge lines, and starts to heat the basin floor, the mountain face, the slope, whatever you're on, it's going to switch that downhill thermal. That cold air is going to get heated. It's going to rise. Hot air rises. And then you're going to be dealing with an uphill thermal. Okay. So that's the first switch. Downhill in the morning, switches about mid-morning, call it 10, 10:30, 11, somewhere in that range. And then the same thing happens in the nighttime. The shadows grow long on the mountain as the wind cools down. Okay, so if you think, oh, that tree line shadow's getting really long, you're reminding yourself, well, that downhill thermal is about to happen. Okay, this goes into perspective in hunting location and hunter position. Okay, we've got to remember, if I'm sitting downwind of the bull right now in the middle of the day, that's a good spot for now. It's not a good spot for when the thermal switches, because once that thermal switches, wind goes to the bull smells, moves off, no chance, right? So you've got to play not only the thermal in the morning, the middle of the day, and the evening, you've got to also play the switch of the thermal, okay? Let's jump into directional winds. Directional winds, like I mentioned, are a change in atmospheric pressure. So just like water, if you can think, it will always go to the lower pressure system, right? High pressure means there's a lot of air. Low pressure means there's not a lot of air. The air is going to try to come to an equilibrium, okay? Try to level itself out so there's equal parts of air. That's what happens with a directional wind. The wind is blowing to where there's a lower pressure system in this same landscape that you can find thermals, right? So with these directional winds, your scent is going to carry further and farther in the mountain than with a thermal. Okay, they're stronger, they're faster winds or gusts of wind than a thermal will be. And these are the winds that you will typically feel, right? So always stay downwind, and remember, if you don't remember anything from this podcast episode, this is it. So listen close, okay? The wind is king. The wind is king. As simple as that, okay? Animals have three primary senses they're going to use: their nose, their eyes, and their ears. They will always trust their nose more than anything, okay? So to avoid the inevitable, and it will always happen, animals are smart. They are very keen in playing the system, right? We've got to play the wind better than they will play the wind. We've got to remember they are smarter than we give them credit. Like the camera clearing bull, Tatka, he was smarter than I realized he was going to be. I just thought, oh, he's listening to the call. He's going to come right in. Thoink, 38 yards, dead bull. No, not so fast. He went down, played the wind, got downwind of the call, and the rest is history. We didn't see him the rest of that day, right? So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm super excited for this podcast. I hope you guys will tune in for what's to come as well. Looking forward to some great episodes, some great guests in the future. And remember, I'll just leave you guys with this: the wind is king. Thank you.